Denji. Denji starts out as just a broke teenager drowning in debt thanks to his deadbeat dad. And when I say broke, I mean selling kidneys and eating breadcrumbs kinda broke. His old man owed money to the Yakuza, and after dying, or rather being killed by Denji in self-defense, that massive debt got dumped on Denji's shoulders. One day, he stumbles upon a tiny injured chainsaw-shaped devil named Pochita. Denji helps him out, and in return, Pochita sticks around as his partner in crime. Together, they become devil hunters, working for the Yakuza, with Denji basically selling his life away to pay off his dad's debts. Even after all his hard work, he barely scrapes by with just 1800 yen, which is about the price of a cheap meal. Just when you think that things can't get worse, the Yakuza decide to backstab him. Literally. Turns out they made a deal with the zombie devil, who offered them power in exchange for wiping out all devil hunters. So Denji gets lured into an abandoned factory under the pretense of a devil hunting job, but instead of a payday, he gets a sword in the back. The Yakuza turn zombies, then swarm him like a pack of rabid animals, stabbing and hacking him to pieces. After being shredded like a human jigsaw puzzle, Denji's corpse gets tossed into a dumpster, along with Pochita. Denji's blood drips into Pochita's mouth, waking him up. In a final act of love and loyalty, Pochita fuses with Denji, piecing his body back together and reviving him. And just like that, Chainsaw Man is born. Now imagine being stabbed over and over, hacked to bits while still alive, and then casually thrown away like garbage. He doesn't go down in one clean strike. He's forced to endure every second of agony before finally passing out. Katana Man's cronies and the 30 convicts. Makima and some special division members are on a train to Kyoto when suddenly they get ambushed by Gun Devil's goons. Bullets fly and the whole squad is wiped out. Meanwhile, over in Tokyo, Katana Man and Akane team up to take down Denji and capture him. As Makima's train pulls into Kyoto, she just stands up, completely unfazed, and turns the guys who shot her into human ketchup. When she arrives at the station, two devil hunters, Yutaro and Michiko, fill her in on the Tokyo chaos. Instead of rushing back, she plays it cool and says she will do what she can from Kyoto. She asks Yutaro to borrow 30 death row inmates from the Ministry of Justice and has Michiko find a high-altitude shrine. The convicts have no idea what's coming as they casually eat their last meal as they're transported to the shrine by a bus. Cut back to Tokyo, Katana Man is out of commission while his men are dragging Denji's body into a vehicle. One of them notices a crow nearby and suddenly gets that something feels off vibe. And he's right, because the next thing you know, his skull implodes like a soda can under a truck. Then his whole body is squished into a puddle of blood on the floor. Akane freaks out and tries calling another squad to confirm if Makima's actually dead, but before the man can even respond, he's crushed too. Meanwhile, at the shrine, Makima has the convicts blindfolded. Yutaro and Michiko are also blindfolded, because normal devil hunters aren't allowed to know what kind of contract she's made. Makima walks up to one convict and casually tells him to say the name Shuzo Mishima. The guy repeats the name. Makima makes some hand signs, and at that exact moment, Katana Man's lackey, Mishima, gets flattened into a pile of gore. The convict who spoke his name also died the same way. We're talking full-on, slow, excruciating body implosion by an invisible force. Bones snapping, flesh compressing, organs bursting, until there's literally nothing left but bloodstains. One by one, Makima has each convict say the name of one of Katana Man's guys, and just like that, they're all obliterated, leaving behind nothing but red smears. Katana Man's remaining crew loses their minds and tries to run, but there's no escaping it. Makima snipes them all remotely, leaving only Katana Man and Akane alive. Once she's done, she casually tells Michiko and Yutaro to remove their blindfolds. They look around and realize all the convicts are dead. The whole sequence is just one of the most terrifying displays of Makima's power, and it makes it clear she doesn't just kill people, she annihilates them in the most nightmarish way possible. Falling Devil's victims. The falling devil represents the primal fear of falling, not just physically, but also the terrifying descent into despair, and she doesn't waste any time showing just how terrifying she can be. She makes her grand entrance at the Tamano apartments, and before anyone even knows what's happening, people start hurling themselves off their balconies like ragdolls. And it's not because they wanted to unalive themselves, they're being forced into it, as they're helpless against her influence. Their broken mangled bodies pile up, and like some kind of grotesque DIY project, the falling devil literally assembles a body for herself using the corpses. After slapping a head on her new form, she realizes she's naked, so naturally she summons a chef uniform out of nowhere. She introduces herself with a chef's flourish, announcing that she's cooking tonight's special at the request of Hell's residents. Her power cranks up, and soon everyone starts floating helplessly into the sky. Some unlucky souls drift straight into ominous floating doors, which lead straight to hell, where they get eaten alive. She carves through multiple devil hunters who try to take her down, but instead of just killing one of them, she decides to get extra creative. She stitches his mouth shut, forces his eyes open with surgical clamps, and twists his limbs into a horrifying shape so he can hold a grotesque platter, a dish made from the ears, tongue, and nose of his fellow devil hunter. Then, with a sixth sense of hospitality, she wheels them into Hell's residence on a trolley. Her rampage continues as she gathers more ingredients, casually ripping out 10 eyes and 4 ears from random humans. She stops by a supermarket to grab some apples to pair with the human flesh. Right as she's leaving, she remembers she still needs one last ingredient, a man's head for the sauce. Before she can grab one, a squad of devil hunters with snipers blow her body to pieces. But she instantly regenerates and calmly states that nothing humanity has can kill her. Then, without missing a beat, she just beheads one of the hunters on the spot to complete the ingredients. Needless to say, the falling devil doesn't just kill, she turns suffering into an art form, and for the unfortunate souls caught in her path, their deaths are nothing short of pure, unrelenting agony. Public safety members. The aging devil is the embodiment of the fear of growing old, but it doesn't just give you wrinkles and back pain. This thing can make people and objects rapidly age just by touching them, and if that wasn't bad enough, it can also deal massive damage to a target from a distance by sacrificing someone else's body parts. These sacrifices don't just disappear like a typical devil contract, they're brutally destroyed in real time. Even the aging devil itself calls this method ugly. When Denji loses it and lets Pochita take over after Nayuta's death, public safety is desperate to stop him. Their solution is to make a deal with the aging devil. Seeing Pochita heading their way like an unstoppable force of destruction, the nearby public safety members, including Fumiko, are given a choice. Let the aging devil use their bodies as weapons, and in return, they won't get obliterated by Pochita. With no other option, they agree. The aging devil first sacrifices their fingernails, slicing Pochita clean in half. The public safety members immediately scream in agony as their nails are ripped apart. But it's not over. The aging devil then sacrifices Fumiko's liver, decapitating Pochita in the process. Fumiko instantly coughs up blood, her body convulsing from the sheer pain of having a vital organ destroyed. But Pochita just revs his pull cord and reattaches his head like nothing happened. Realizing they need to keep going, the aging devil makes another brutal move, this time sacrificing a public safety agent's eyes, blinding them instantly while using the attack to decapitate Pochita again. Unlike normal devil contracts, where the sacrifice is instantaneous, the aging devil's power destroys the body parts while the person is still conscious and feeling everything. The public safety agents didn't just lose their nails, liver, or eyes, they felt them being torn apart in the most excruciating way possible. And all of this was happening while they were completely helpless. In terms of sheer drawn-out agony, their sacrifice easily ranks as one of the most physically painful moments in the entire series. Himino. Himino was a public safety devil hunter and Aki's partner under Makima's special squad. At first, Himino's feelings for Aki were just those between teammates, and she just wanted him to stay alive since all her previous partners had died. But after spending so much time together, she started catching feelings for him. That being said, she wasn't above being a little reckless, like when she tried to seduce Denji despite him being underage. The moment she found out he liked Makima though, she backed off, and instead formed an alliance with him. Their deal was that she'd help him win over Makima if he helped her get Aki, and just like that, they became buddies. Now, when it came to fighting, Himino had a contract with the Ghost Devil, She sacrificed her right eye permanently in exchange for controlling its right arm, which was invisible and could hit enemies without them even seeing it coming. That arm alone was strong enough to rip out chunks of the Eternity Devil, but none of that mattered when the Gun Devil's goons showed up. While Himeno, Aki, Denji, and Power were chilling at a restaurant, Katana Man casually dropped his connection to Denji before immediately shooting him in the head. Then he turned the gun on the others. Aki, reacting fast, called in the Fox Devil to chomp the guy whole, but that barely lasted a second before Katana Man transformed and sliced his way out. Aki fought back and stabbed him enough times to activate his Cursed Devil contract, supposedly killing him. But then Akane showed up and revived him like it was nothing. Before Aki could do anything, Katana Man slashed him down. That's when Himeno panicked. Profusely bleeding from the fatal shot, she begged Power to save Aki, but Power refused since Katana Man was way too fast for her. She then turned to her own Ghost Devil, but even it was too scared to move. Desperate, Himeno made a final offer. Her entire body just so she can use all of Ghost Devil's powers to save Aki. The Ghost Devil accepted with a grin. Now in full form, the Ghost Devil went berserk and tore into Katana Man. Himeno was literally being eaten alive as she watched, her limbs disappearing one by one, but she didn't care. Aki's life came first. Just as it looks like if she might actually win, Akane called in her Snake Devil. In an instant, the Ghost Devil was swallowed whole, and Himeno vanished completely, leaving only her clothes behind. But even in death, she wasn't done. With the last bit of control she had, she used the Ghost Devil's arm to yank Denji's chainsaw cord, bringing him back into the fight. Unlike others who died from a quick slash or gunshot, Himeno was erased piece by piece until she got torn apart in an instant. She felt herself disappearing while fully conscious and fully aware, but unable to do anything about it. And she had to experience the horror of it all while trying to protect the person she cared about the most. Galgali, the Violence Fiend. Galgali, aka the Violence Fiend, was one of the more chill members of Tokyo Special Division 4. Pretty ironic given that he literally embodied the fear of violence. Unlike most fiends, he was weirdly polite and soft-spoken, almost like a guy who just really wants to mind his business. Even though fiends are usually weaker than devils, Galgali was insanely strong. So strong, in fact, that he had to wear a poison-dispensing mask just to keep his power in check. And the craziest part is that the poison didn't seem to bother him at all. Despite his intimidating title, he was actually a nice dude. During the terrorist raid, led by Akane Sawatari, he accidentally smacked Beam and immediately apologized. He also mistook the Spider Devil for a regular lady and genuinely tried to warn her to leave before realizing his mistake. When Reize attacked in the Bomb Girl arc, Galgali showed up alongside Kobeni to back up Aki. He kicked Reize off the roof of Aki's car and even hit her with a full power kick, strong enough to crack the ground, although she tanked it like it was nothing. Later, when Aki was about to get blown up, Galgali jumped in and saved him. But here's where things get nasty. During the International Assassins arc, Galgali and the others got dragged into literal hell after Santa Claus made a deal with the Hell Devil. One second they were fighting, the next they were standing in an endless field under a sky filled with thousands of eerie doors. And then, out of one of those doors, a single black droplet fell. That's when it appeared, the Darkness Devil, an absolute nightmare in physical form. Realizing that they were all about to die horrifically as the Darkness Devil takes them down one by one, Galgali told Kobeni to take off his mask so he can go all out. Mask off, he rushed the Darkness Devil with a full force kick, only to get absolutely obliterated before he could land a hit. The Darkness Devil spoke in some incomprehensible language, and Galgali's body was instantly riddled with holes, like he got hit by an invisible machine gun. But the guy still wasn't done. With what little life he had left, he charged again, only to be impaled by a sword that appeared out of nowhere. His blood rained down on the Darkness Devil, like a final tragic farewell. Power. Power, the Blood Fiend, wasn't always a fiend. She was once a normal human before the Blood Devil took over her corpse and turned her into the chaotic, loudmouth mess we all love. Despite her transformation, she still had some sense of self and a weirdly strong survival instinct. In her Blood Devil form, she had all the usual abilities of a devil: regeneration, making contracts, reviving in hell after death. But what made her stand out was her blood manipulation. She could shape blood into weapons, stop others from bleeding out if she felt like it, and even messed with their healing by mixing her own blood with theirs. Power and Denji didn't exactly start off as best friends. In fact, she straight up betrayed him when she fed him to the Bat Devil just to save her cat, Meowie. But after Denji saved both her and Meowie, they ended up living together at Aki's place and formed an odd but genuine bond. They fought together, trained under Kishibe, and despite all the chaos, became inseparable. Power was goofy, selfish, and constantly causing trouble, and she was also fiercely loyal to Denji in her own way. But then the villainous Makima happened. With Denji emotionally broken and desperate to escape responsibility, he gave himself over to Makima completely, and that's when the Control Devil made her move. She called Power over for Denji's birthday to set up the most gut-wrenching trap in the series. When Denji opened the door, per Makima's orders, he was met with Power holding a cake, ready to greet him happy birthday. But before she could even speak, Makima pointed a finger at her and obliterated her. Power didn't even get a chance to fight back. One second she was smiling, the next her torso was gone, leaving only her legs and head behind. Denji didn't even have time to react. In the span of a heartbeat, she was just gone. But that wasn't the end for the Blood Devil. Prior to her tragic death, Power had given some of her blood to Denji. That allowed a part of her to linger with him. Later, after Makima had completely broken Denji, that part of her within Denji was awakened by Pochita, who made a contract with her, offering itself to be eaten by her so she can revive and help Denji. Power accepted the contract and emerged from Denji's body, reborn, and fought against Makima and her horde of zombies. She lost an arm in the struggle, and at first considered handing over Chainsaw Man like a scared animal. But then she remembered Denji, their time together, their friendship, and she fled with him. She carried Denji's near lifeless body away and hid inside a dumpster. There, she hugged him and told him that she came to save him. But Denji, in his broken state, just told her he was done, that he had lived enough, that dying was fine. Power called him a wimp for giving up, and forced him into a contract to drink her blood, use her power, and kill Makima. But before she vanished, she told him that when a devil dies, they get revived in hell and they eventually reincarnate, but they lose all their memories after that. That means that when she comes back again, she won't remember him, and they'll probably end up as enemies. She begged Denji to find the Blood Devil when it returns and turn it back into her, so that they could be buddies again. And just like that, she was gone. Aki Hayakawa. Aki Hayakawa was a devil hunter with a mission to take down the Gun Devil, the monster responsible for wiping out his family. That revenge fueled everything he did, but along the way, he picked up two strays, Denji and Power. At first, he acted like he couldn't stand them. Power was a menace and Denji was an idiot. But deep down, he cared. He became their guardian and their big brother. With them, he found a new family. As a devil hunter, Aki was strong since he had contracts with some seriously powerful devils. He used the Cursed Devil's Nail Sword, which let him deal devastating attacks at the cost of his own lifespan. He had the Fox Devil for a while too, until he pushed his luck against Katana Man and lost his trust. Then he made a deal with the Future Devil, gaining the ability to see a few seconds into the future. Though the only thing the Future Devil really cared about was the fact that Aki was doomed to die in the worst way possible. And of course, that's exactly what happened. When the President of the United States sacrificed a year of every citizen's life to summon 20% of the Gun Devil, Aki saw it as the perfect opportunity to finally take it down. He turned to Makima for help, thinking she'd protect Denji and Power. Turned out, it was a big mistake. Makima was the Control Devil. Instead of helping Aki, she forced him into a contract and used him by turning him into one of her pawns. Aki didn't even get to fight the Gun Devil. He was killed instantly, and to make things worse, his corpse was later hijacked to become the Gun Fiend. The thing that he spent his entire life trying to destroy turned him into one of his own. Now the Gun Fiend, Aki returned home, but not to reunite with his friends. Controlled by the Gun Devil's power, he was there to kill Denji and Power. In his mind though, he didn't see himself rampaging, destroying buildings and slaughtering civilians. He thought he was just having a snowball fight with Denji. To him, it was just a peaceful moment from his childhood, where he was playing in the snow with his friend. Meanwhile, Denji was forced to fight him. Denji didn't want to. He loved Aki like a brother, but with every gunshot from Aki's arm, more and more innocent people were dying. Denji had no choice. He fought back while struggling the whole time, with tears in his eyes. In Aki's vision, he saw Denji crying while throwing snowballs at him, causing him to give up the fight and let Denji win. The moment Denji finally kills him with a fatal blow, Aki saw his brother waiting for him in the afterlife. Aki's death is one of the most painful in Chainsaw Man, both physically and emotionally. He became what he hated most, not by choice, but because of Makima's manipulation. All before he was completely erased by none other than his dear friend. No surprise, Denji completely fell apart after Aki's death. I mean, dude was so wrecked, he was ready to hand himself over to Makima and become one of her dogs.